Well, we have a new setup here in the shop. We used to have a panel saw sitting in this space, but we wanted to make this a little more relevant for the typical carpenter is more likely to have a Festool MFT table or any of the knockoffs. It doesn't matter, it's all sort of the same thing. But I want to give a little bit of a heads up for my students here about what to expect with this setup. So, just as usual, we have a track saw here, Festool track saw. It's battery operated, so the cables won't get in the way. And if you want to cut a piece of wood, for example, like this, I've made certain that you can see where the cut's going to occur. Here's the kerf, along with some yellow paint to sort of highlight that. And then I have 3 posts over here, 2 short posts in this location. They're only about ½ an inch high. And then this guy has another couple inches above that ½ an inch lip. So what you do is you take your reference edge, whatever that happens to be on your material, and by reference edge I mean a nice straight edge, and you push it up against the pins, and then you line up wherever your cut line might be on this piece, whether you have it over here and you line it up with the kerf, or you would take the track and it would get pushed up against these 2 tall pins here. So I guess you can't see that from above, but these 2 pins are taller, these 2 pins are shorter, so this track fits up against here. Oh, and by the way, we want to make sure that our material is at least ½ an inch thick. Otherwise, if it's too short, then some weird stuff's going to happen, and you'd see that. This goes up against here, and then you can adjust your piece underneath. So for example, if I had a mark over here somewhere, I might push that over like this until this cut guide is actually in line with my cut mark. And so making sure at all times that this piece of material is pushed tight up against 2 or more of these pins using the reference edge. Or, like I said, you can have your cut line over here on the kerf, and then just go ahead and take this fence, set it against the posts, pick up the saw, and then the next important thing is going to be making sure you set the depth of the saw to the correct setting. So we're here on the FS. FS means that you're using the track, setting it to the FS, and we're going to go about 5 or 6 millimeters thicker than the material. So in the case here, we've got 19 mil material, so I'll set this to 25. Because if I don't check that and I plunge it completely down, it's going to cut through this table, and I don't want that. So I'm double checking here, pushing against the pins. If you want, you can also grab one of these pins, and this is a clamp, so I can put it into one of these holes here, or I can put it over here. My gut instinct is to put it over here and set this down, and then it'll hold it in place while you're actually cutting. So that's handy too. I don't have these hooked up to the dust collection system. We're just going to use the bags. That means that I don't have any cords or hoses or anything sort of getting in my way when I use this. So I'm going to come back here, and again, one of the safety keys with the track saw is once we have it plunged into the material, we never back up, because that's when you get this sort of action with the saw, which is super dangerous. So I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to start it up, and I'll plunge it down, and then I'll run it right through. Super clean, super handy. Here's my waste. It's cut exactly on this cut guard here, this expendable piece. It's absolutely ideal. Unclamp this, move that away. You can see now that certain widths of material you would not be able to cut in here, because this is in the way. I can't get it in between here because this pin is higher than the others. So whatever your maximum width is here, and I'll just double check it. So we're looking at about 550 millimeters maximum width. What if I have a slightly smaller piece that still fits in between the pins? So like this, So let's say I want to cut this end off, like so. What happens is it gets a little wobbly over here at this end. So for example, if I put this on here now, I could start here, but it's a little wobbly. So what I would recommend is you take a piece of waste, the same thickness as the material. This is the same thickness, and I'll just put it over here to sort of hold up the track. And now I'm up against those two pins there. This is like so. I've lined up my cut line, and I take the saw, and now I don't get any of that weird flexion going on with the fence, the track dipping down. So, same result. This corner here will be perfectly 90 degrees, guaranteed, because these holes are all arranged in 90-degree patterns. Here you can see the depth marker, and I have roughly 19 mil material. I add 5 or 6 to that, I end up with about 24, 25 millimeters on here.